And now we're and now for the extraordinary, the amazing, the incredible, the transformative, Kerry Washington. I dropped the mic.
She doesn't know how to do it any other way. Stacey's always dropping the mic. Hey, everybody. Okay, I'll use this one because this one's not on. It's so exciting to be here. Thank you for having me in your beautiful state. Thank you for having me in your beautiful city. Georgia's such an exciting place to be right now because Georgia, as you know, is on the verge of making history. You know, there's a lot of people that don't even know that we've never had a black woman governor in the United States of America. And Georgia's about to make that history because this is the next governor of Georgia. But you know, I want you to know that Georgia's already making history. Did you know that? That's true. You know what? That's true. Georgia's blue. But Georgia didn't become blue accidentally. This woman right here had a vision 10 years ago, a decade ago, to know that this state could be blue. And she didn't just snap her fingers and make it happen. She worked. She was in the trenches. She had a strategy. She had a plan. And her plan wasn't just to do things her way. Her plan was to be with the people. Her plan was to be on the ground, to listen to communities, to respond to communities, and to be blue, not just because we like blue, but to be blue is to be for each other. To be blue is to take care of the least of us. To be blue is when we the people means all the people, all the time. It's when it means white folks, black folks, AAPI folks. It means Latino folks. It means LGBTQ folks. It means all of us. We the people is not for a narrow group of white men who own property like they did 100 years ago, hundreds of years ago. We the people means every single one of us. But what I really meant when I said history's already happening here is that already in record numbers, people are coming out to vote. Over 130,000 Georgians cast their vote on the very first day. The very first day, that's 75% more votes than on the first day of voting in 2018. So when they tell you there's not excitement happening here, when they tell you people aren't coming out to tell them that's not true. We know the numbers. We know the math. We see it in black and white. People are coming out to vote in record numbers day after day, not just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And it's going to continue to happen till we win this thing. Now listen, the reason people are saying that this might be tough is because these are midterm elections. Now, we know how midterms go, right? It's not a fancy presidential election. So sometimes people don't understand the power of a midterm election. But we're here to remind each other and to remind our circle of friends. Is this on? Oh, no. And to remind our circle of friends and families that midterms is where the real work happens. Midterms is where we got to boss up. Do you know what I mean by that? When I say boss up, it's because these people who we elect in midterms, all the people we elect, these elected officials, they get paid by who? Thank you. They get paid by us, by our tax dollars. We are the boss. They work for us. And midterms is when we remind them that they work for us, because it's when we let them know what we want, when we want it, and how we want it. And we do that by voting. We show up and we show out. This is a really important election, everybody. And I know, listen, my whole life people have always said to me, this is the most important election of your lifetime. They say it every time, but I'm here to tell you right now, this is the most important election of our lifetimes because it's all on the line. We are in danger of having real rights taken away. We're not even in danger of having them taken. They're being taken away, right? When we think about SB 202, which I like to call BS 202, that's about voting rights being taken from us. But they only come for your rights when they know your power. Am I right? They come for your rights when they're scared of you. And they should be scared of us. Because when you look at these folks up on this stage, these are people who know, these are women who know their power. And listen, they know their power because they know your power. These women, they're not up here for self. They're up here for you. They're up here for your right to vote. They're up here for your right to choose. They're up here for your right to do what you want to do with your body and have nobody else be in your bedroom. They're up here for your education and the education of your family. They're up here for housing. They're up here to defend your rights, to protect your rights, to define your rights as an equal citizen in this great state and nation. They're here for you, which is why I'm here for you. I can't even vote here, but I'm here for you. I'm here for you because, listen, the whole nation is watching Georgia. The whole nation is looking to you to set an example and to really affirm that we all matter, that we all count, that our voices are necessary. That's what democracy is. It's about not just the voice of a few, but the voice of all. Am I right? Okay. So, and look at the diversity. Listen, the diversity on this stage. Look at this. This is who we are. This is who we are, all of us. So you have decisions in these midterms to make choices to vote for people who are fighting for you on a local level. And I want to introduce those people to you, okay? I want to just talk really quickly so that when you're out there talking to folks that you can remind people why midterms matter. Your governor, your future governor. Your governor is your last line of defense when it comes to protecting your rights. It's why we have to elect Stacey Abrams. Not just because she's going to be America's first black woman governor, but because she's going to do the right thing when it comes to healthcare and housing and education and making one Georgia. Not a Georgia that belongs to the few, but a Georgia that is for everyone. Your Secretary of State. Your Secretary of State is here to protect your right to vote. She's here to protect your voice in a democracy. There is one candidate who is committed to fighting the battle for you and for Georgia in protecting your voice. That is Wynn. And your Attorney General, ladies and gentlemen. Your Attorney General is responsible for enforcing that legislation on a state level. Listen, I know this is a family thing, but this badass woman right here, she is in charge of enforcing legislation, filing lawsuits, defending the laws. She's not playing. She's here to protect your rights, defend you, to uphold the Constitution as we deserve it to be upheld for all of us, okay? Senator Jen Jordan has been working to uphold those rights tirelessly. She's going to continue to do that. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm not running for office. But these beautiful people are, and I'm going to introduce them one by one. May I do that, ladies? Okay, all right. So this is where I really need my notes. It's all women. Because we get it done. Because we get it done. Listen, and because they're coming for us. They're coming for us. They're out here coming for my uterus. Coming for my right to choose. Can I plan my family or not? Can I decide what's right for me and my body and mine or not? Don't come for me. You come for me. We coming for you. Okay, so with that being said, I want to introduce one of Georgia's fiercest advocates for representing voices, Representative Wynn. She's no stranger to public service. She started a local nonprofit to educate and empower young women. She also spent a decade in Georgia public high schools. Listen, I used to be a substitute teacher in public high schools. That's not an easy job, okay? She learned how to organize with her community and demand change with her students. She's invested in young people. She then went on to make history when she was elected as the first Asian American Democratic woman to the Georgia General Assembly. way, that seat was formerly held by Stacey Abrams. Some magic in that seat. She's been a leading advocate for voting rights, public education, criminal justice reform. She's also successfully overturned the exact match voter registration law. This is huge because it restored nearly 50,000 rights to Georgians to vote. As Secretary of State, Representative Wynn will always stand up and protect your right to vote, remove barriers. She knows firsthand the importance of a free and fair democracy, and that is why she is running to be your Secretary of State. Please use your voices loud. Make her know you care more about her than some silly movie star. Use your voices to welcome Representative B. Wynn.
Good afternoon, Georgia Democrats. My name is B. Wynn, and I am running for Secretary of State. I am also the daughter of refugees, and over 44 years ago, my parents fled their country in the middle of the night on a boat in search of basic liberty, like the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, and the right to free and fair elections. I learned at an early age that our civil liberties are not guaranteed, and right now our basic rights are under attack, including our freedom to choose and our freedom to vote. I'm running for Secretary of State because I believe every eligible Georgian should have the freedom to vote and the freedom to vote without barriers. Now, we have experienced record turnout all this week because Georgians understand exactly what is on the line in this election. But let's be very clear here. The reason why we are experiencing record turnout is not because of Georgia Republicans, it's because of Georgia organizers. Let's remember in 2020 and in 2021, people counted us out. They said, Georgia ain't gonna win. And we responded by showing up in record numbers. We responded by coming together with our broad-based coalition based on the shared values of equality and justice for all, on democracy, of humanity, and we delivered wins. And in response, Republicans went into our legislature and they passed SB 202, a 98-page bill to make it harder for Georgians to vote by crippling the ability to apply for absentee ballot voting, by taking away those secure drop boxes that were so popular even the governor used one, by making it a crime to hand out a bottle of water to a Georgia waiting in line. And in 2020, people waited 11 hours to exercise a constitutional right. And then they sent out these Trump allies to challenge the voting eligibility of over 65,000 Georgians. They targeted military overseas members. They targeted college students. They do not want all of us to have the right to vote. So yesterday, I was in Gwinnett County, and I was talking to a barber, 67 years old, and above his mirror, he had Georgia voting stickers for every election that he had voted in. And he voted this week. And he said to me, I have been voting all of my life. I have been told to show up in every election, but the change is slow. And I said, yes, the change is slow, but let me remind you, when we sent Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock to Congress, they have already delivered results for us. I said, you know, people are struggling to pay for basic necessities, and if you have to pay for insulin now, they capped it at $35. That matters to a lot of Georgians. And he said, you are right. And he also said, I have to keep showing up for every single election because we have no other choice, because this is about survival. And for so many of us, this is about survival. But this year, it's not just about surviving, it's also about thriving. And we have a statewide ticket who will live up to the promises of our state and our country. So when we go to the ballot box, we know, yes, we're going to fight like hell to defend our rights, but we are also going to fight like hell to have a vision of better days ahead of us by electing people like Jen Jordan and Stacey Abrams. So don't let anyone tell you that we are not fired up, we are not enthusiastic, we are not fighting like hell, that our voices don't matter. We will not cede our power, and we are going to live to fight for the future of Georgia, and we are going to get it done. Today is Saturday. Every single county in the state of Georgia has Saturday voting, so we've got to mobilize people across the state of Georgia. I'm Wynn. I'm running for Secretary of State. My last name, it's not spelled the way it sounds, so y'all can just remember, we be winning.
I mean, when your name is Wynn, what choice do you have? Thank you so much. Ooh, and there's a B here. Get it? B, Wynn. Get out of here. Okay. It's so inspiring to be in community with you all here today. Okay, so next up, we have Democratic Senator, State Senator Jen Jordan. She has spent her legal career fighting for Georgians. She grew up in Dodge County. She's the oldest child of a single mother who worked as a hairdresser and taught her daughters the value of hard work and perseverance. Anybody here know something about that? It was there at Georgia Southern University, and also at the University of Georgia, where she really found her voice and came to believe that the courthouse needs to be a place where everyone is treated equally by the law. Jen believes in helping people when they need it most, and knows that now, more than ever before, Georgia needs an attorney general who will stand up and fight for everyone's rights. That's why she's running for attorney general. That's why she's here with you today. Give it up for Jen Jordan.
Y'all look incredible, right? Come on. Come on, right? All right, y'all just heard from my good friend B, who is always winning, right? Y'all know that, about the stakes of this election and what's on the ballot. And of course, we know about the constant and deliberate attempts to deny voters, and specifically voters of color, in this state of their fundamental right to vote. We know that, right? It's a story old as time in this state. But what we also know is that that's not the only right at stake this November. The women, the girls in this state specifically, have been stripped of their most basic right to make the most personal decisions about their lives. And I'll tell you that the current Attorney General has worked harder to control the women and girls of this state than he has actually worked at doing his job. So let me tell you how it feels not only to be a woman, but a mother of a daughter whose reproductive health, whose future, whose freedom the Republican men of this state have claimed as their own, right? Let me tell y'all, it is not for Brad Raffensperger. It is not for Chris Carr. It is not for Brian Kemp to insert themselves into the most personal, private, and wrenching decisions that women make every day. Y'all, this is about the fundamental right of privacy, but it is more than that. It is about the fundamental right to be, right? And to have the same opportunities and choices that men have to be a mother, to be an actress, to be a lawyer, and yes, even to be governor. Y'all, when Georgia's 6-week abortion ban was passed in that Senate chamber, I told those men that if they shirked their most basic duties to protect the fundamental rights of women and girls in this state, then no doubt the women of this state, y'all better get loud, would reclaim their rights after they have claimed their seats, the seats of those Republican men. So let me tell y'all, the three of us, Jen, B, Stacey, we're here to make good on that promise, right? Because the men in power have failed to do their jobs, to protect our rights, to fight for my daughter and your daughters, to provide opportunities so that we can all do more and be more, right? Y'all, I can't even believe we're in this place right now, right? So listen, y'all vote, y'all tell everybody you know to vote, right? Everybody, up and down the ticket. There is more on the ballot than any of us could ever imagine. I want my daughter to have a full life, right? And to make her own decisions. And right now, she can't. My name is Jen Jordan. I'm running for Attorney General. I need your vote. And y'all can remember my name by like Attorney General. Yeah. All right, y'all.
Yes! Thank you, Jen. Oh, man. I love it. Jen said, you coming for me, you coming for my daughter. I hear from the crowd, my granddaughter. I said, that's right. We're clear. We're clear about the stakes. We're clear. That's why we're here. So it's my real honor to now also introduce a dear friend of mine. It's a privilege to have you speak, to have you hear her today. I love this woman. I love this woman. You know, when people come up to me, right? When people come up to me and say like, oh my goodness, I loved Scandal. I love Olivia Pope. She's so powerful and she's so beautiful. She's so smart. She loves democracy. She loves the people. She's a fixer. She brings people together. I think of this woman. Because Olivia Pope is not real. Somebody wrote Olivia Pope. Olivia Pope never registered to vote. Olivia Pope never organized in her community. Olivia Pope didn't spend 10 years coming up with a strategy to improve the lives of the people of an entire state, no matter where you were born or what you look like or who you love or what you believe. I wish she did those things. But somebody better did those things. Somebody better than Olivia Pope. Stacey Abrams. Her support for the people has been tireless. This bee, let me tell you something. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something funny. This woman that I'm about to introduce, she's such a fixer. She cares so much. She gets the job done. You know what she asked me back here? The bee was swarming around me, and she went through her mind. She said, now, is this a crisis or is this not a crisis, right? Because she's capable of prioritization. She's capable of understanding what the issues are. So she leaned over discreetly to me, and she said, are you allergic to bees? So she loves me. What can I say? But what I realized in that moment was Stacey knew I could get stung. She's okay if I get stung. Because there's work to do. But she knew that if there was a life to save, she was going to save it. That's what she's done her entire career. She has looked out for the least of us. She has been aware of the most vulnerable. And she has stepped in to know where she can make a difference. And she has made that difference. She's helped small businesses. She stood with the She stood with the LGBTQ plus community. She's unapologetically pro-choice. She's walked across the aisle to bring communities together. She fights for fair housing, for fair votes. She's made historic steps toward the steps she's going to make this year. But this is the year where we finish the business. This is the year where we cross the finish line with leader Stacey Abrams to have her become Governor Stacey Abrams. Give it up for my friend, Stacey Abrams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Kerry Washington. Yes, I was like, if she dies here in Georgia, Lord. No, we had a backup plan. We got you. And while it is women standing on this stage, I want to make sure I acknowledge my friend and my ticket mate, William Bodie, who's going to be our next labor commissioner. I want to thank Mayor Cobble coming all the way from Stonecrest. And I want to thank the mayor of Stone Mountain, Dr. Beverly Jones. I know where we are. We're in Stone Mountain. And this ain't the Stone Mountain it used to be, is it? We're standing next to that Freedom Bell. And on November 8th, that bell's going to ring loud, ain't it? I grew up in Mississippi. I grew up in Gulfport. I came of age here in Georgia, though. My parents moved us here to Georgia when I was 15. My mom and dad were called into the ministry. My mother was a librarian in Mississippi. My father was a shipyard worker. But they believed in 3 jobs for their children: go to church, go to school, and take care of each other. They told us to go to church because they wanted us grounded in an ethic that was larger than ourselves. They wanted us to have a faith to hold on to when the winds of change were buffeting us hard. They wanted us to know that we were part of something larger. And so they said, hold on to your faith. They also said they weren't taking us to heaven with them, so it was really important. And so my parents raised us to believe in our faith, but they also taught us that our faith was a shield to protect, never a sword to strike people down. And so when I hear people use my faith, our faith, to justify their hatred, it makes me mad. Unlike what Brian Kemp thought, I wasn't mad that day. I do get mad about that, though. But my parents also said that education was our job. They said, you need to go to school every single day. Look, we need to be missing a major organ or a limb. None of this appendicitis stuff. You need like a spleen missing or something. Because my mom and dad understood that education was the passport to the future. My parents grew up in segregated, abject poverty, Mississippi. And education raised them up. It made my mother the first person in her family to finish high school. It made my father the first man in his family to finish high school. Both of my parents went to college as first generation. And my parents understood that education was going to change the lives of their family members. But my parents also knew that we had to take care of each other. Now, part of it was the fact they had 6 children and that was free babysitting. But the other piece of it for them was that they knew that we had to take care of the community around us. My parents wanted us to know that we were going to go to soup kitchens and homeless shelters. We were going to juvenile justice facilities to work with children who didn't have families that were there for them. They took us to nursing homes. And every time we would go on Saturday to volunteer, Kerry, I would look at my mom and dad and I'm like, y'all know we're poor too, right? The lights got cut off. We didn't have running water. But my mom and dad were both very committed to this. My mother's way of saying it, because she is very erudite, was no matter how little we have, there's someone with less. Your job is to serve that person. My father was more succinct. He just said having nothing is not an excuse for doing nothing. And so I grew up with an ethic that said that service and education and that the faith that I hold in my heart had to be lived experiences. It couldn't just be something I talk about on Sunday or write about in my journal. It had to be something I lived every single day. But more importantly, I watched my parents live that faith. You see, when my parents were called into the ministry at the age of 40, my mother and father answered that call with their faith, but then they matched that call with education. My parents at the age of 40 went back to grad school, went to Emory University to get their Master's of Divinity. And that brought me to DeKalb County. I went to Avondale High School. Blue Devils, yes. And in 1991, a long, long time ago, I graduated as valedictorian of that high school. And while I'm still proud of it, that's not the point of the story. You see, when you're valedictorian in Georgia, you get invited to meet the governor of Georgia. You get invited to the governor's mansion on a Sunday. That was my day. And so my mom and my dad and I, we got dressed up. My family, we went off to church. We took everyone home. And then my mom and dad and I, we went out and got on the MARTA bus. Because you see, we were poor in Mississippi. We were broke in Georgia. And so we had to rely on MARTA to get around. We didn't have a car in the state of Georgia. And so my mother and my father and I, that Sunday morning, we went out and we got on the MARTA bus. We took it from Decatur all the way to West Paces Ferry. We got there because I wanted to go, not to see the governor, and that was interesting, but the governor lived in a mansion, and I watched a lot of General Hospital and Dynasty as a child. I really wanted to see a mansion. And so I was excited to get off of that bus, and my mother and father were walking with me across West Paces Ferry. We walked up the driveway, and we get to the guard gate at the top. And the guard comes out, and there are cars coming in, so my mom and dad and I are walking single file as we get to the guard gate. And as we get to the top, the guard comes out, and there's a car coming in from Valdosta, someone coming in from Talbotton, someone coming in from Dodge County, someone coming in from Richmond County. But when the guard looks at me and my parents, he says, "This is a private event. You don't belong here." My father said, no, this is my daughter, Stacey. She's one of the valedictorians. But the guard doesn't ask my mother for the invitation that's tucked in her purse. He doesn't look at the checklist that has our names listed. Instead, I remember with clarity him looking over my shoulder at the bus that's pulling away from a curb. A MARTA bus that's carrying custodial janitors, it's carrying teachers and nurses, it's carrying folks who are on their way from second shift to third shift. And all he sees are people who don't belong in that building, because what he does is look back at me and my mother and my father with a sneer on his face and disgust in his voice. And he said, "Look, I told you this is a private event. You don't belong here." Now, my mother and father were in training to become pastors, but they were not ministers yet. And so my parents had a very engaged discussion with this gentleman. My mother may have questioned his upbringing. My father may have mentioned where he was going to spend eternity if he didn't find my name on that list. And after a few minutes, he finally deigned to look at the list, and my name was at the top. It's Abrams. It's hard to miss. But I tell you this story because I don't remember meeting the governor of Georgia in 1991. I don't remember what the mansion looked like. I don't remember meeting my fellow valedictorians. I don't remember what canapes they served. I don't remember what drinks we had to consume. All I remember, my clearest memory of that day, is a man standing in front of the most powerful place in Georgia, looking at me and telling me I don't belong. But on November 8th, we're opening those gates wide in the state of Georgia. We're opening those gates wide because this is our time and this is our election, and we are going to win. We are going to deliver justice with Jen Jordan, and we are going to deliver democracy with B. Wynn. And up and down the ballot, we are going to tell Georgia who we are. We are a state that deserves more, don't we? We've had 4 years of a governor who doesn't care and will not help. Next week, we are 1 week away from the closure of a level 1 trauma center in the state of Georgia. This is the 6th hospital to shut down under Brian Kemp's watch. Look, when I was here for Spelman College, it was called Georgia Baptist. When I was working as a state legislator, it was called the Atlanta Medical Center. It's been around for 120 years. This is a hospital that could survive 120 years, but couldn't survive Brian Kemp. We need a governor who believes in expanding Medicaid and putting health insurance cards in our pockets and opportunity in our lives and saving the communities that he's supposed to serve. We need a governor who doesn't think that it's okay for him to have health insurance, but nobody else. Because when he is refusing our money, he is condemning people to die in the state of Georgia. But we need a governor who does more than health care. We need a governor who also believes in housing. Affordable housing is a crisis in Georgia, across this state. And his answer when asked about it, asked if he would give Mayor Cobble and Mayor Jones a little more control, a little more authority, help them take care of housing prices. He said no, because he doesn't want to upset the investors. Now, look, given that he makes his living in real estate, although he's supposed to be governor, this is somebody who's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate in the last 4 years. You can't be surprised where his priorities are. But my priority is right here with the people of Georgia, and that's what I'm going to do. We need a governor who believes in education from cradle all the way to career for our children. We need to stop having parents basically paying a college tuition for a 2-year-old. We need a governor willing to expand access to child care, to end the waiting list for pre-K. I have never met a 4-year-old who was willing to wait to turn 5. We need a governor willing to invest the money we have in the children we have for the futures they deserve, and that means a new governor in the state of Georgia. That means a governor who doesn't give teachers a $5,000 pay raise on layaway. As the next governor of Georgia, I'm going to increase our starting salary to $50,000, and every educator is getting an $11,000 pay raise, because that's what they deserve, and that's what we need. We need a governor who's going to invest in our custodial workers, and in our school bus drivers, and in our paraprofessionals, and in the mental health of our children and the health of our families. We need a governor who's going to create 20,000 apprenticeships so when our children graduate from our high schools, they can earn while they learn. Who's going to restore free technical college in the state of Georgia. We need a governor who's going to expand the Hope Scholarship. Look, right now we're one of only 2 states in the nation without need-based financial aid. And I'm here to tell you that I know a lot of C students and they should still be able to see their way to college. We're going to get it done in the state of Georgia. That's going to be my mission as the next governor. Health care, housing, education, the ability to make a good living whether you work for yourself or someone else. The state of Georgia is 48% people of color. And yet under this governor, those people of color get 1.5% of the contracts. And we're not talking about pennies. We're talking about $6 billion this year alone, where only $90 million made it to black and brown folks. But Brian Kemp's friends got the rest of it. Now, when I asked him about it, you notice he gave me a really long answer that said very little. Now, to his credit, he did hire one person in July to study the issue, to study the fact that it's a 100-year gap in economic opportunity. Well, I'll tell you, like I told him, he can cheat off my paper. We know the answer. Governor Stacey Abrams, that's the answer. We need a governor who's not going to sit on $400 million in housing assistance because he doesn't think people deserve the access. We need a governor who's going to bring our $3.5 billion a year back to the state of Georgia for our health care. We need a governor who's going to spend more time attacking our enemies and not attacking our freedoms. That's what we need in the state of Georgia. We need a governor who knows that in the state of Georgia, we do not have universal background checks. Now, B and Jen know this because they were there. In the state of Georgia, when he signed that criminal carry law, he weakened gun laws in the state of Georgia. And because of Brian Kemp, guns are flooding our streets, and we do not have the ability to know who's got them. Now, look, I said I grew up in Mississippi. It's not quite Dodge County, but real close. My great-grandmother taught me how to shoot. Her name was Moo Moo. She taught me how to shoot a shotgun early. She said 2 things. 1, don't point at anything you don't plan on shooting, especially in a commercial. And number 2, she said the person holding the weapon is the one responsible. Well, I try not to quote Ronald Reagan, but this time he was right. Georgia needs background checks because we've got to trust but verify. And we need a governor who knows that we can protect the Second Amendment and protect second graders in the state of Georgia. We need a governor who's not going to make his life's mission attacking our right to vote. We need a governor who believes in a woman's right to choose every single day, every single place. He has broken faith with Georgia. He has broken the promise to the women of Georgia. And I'm here to tell you with my friends here, it's going to take women to put it right. But we only get there if you show up. As B pointed out, we've seen record turnout this week. But when you leave this place, you need to go and cast your ballot. And the minute you're done, you need to call 3 friends that you know don't plan to vote. And they need to cast their ballots. And they need to call 3 more. And they need to call 3 more. Because we are on the verge of victory in the state of Georgia. They know it. That's why their stories are getting nastier and their palms are getting sweatier. But we're going to keep putting our hands to work. Because Stone Mountain, we deserve more in the state of Georgia. We deserve more money in our pockets. Say more. We deserve more opportunity in our community. Say more. We deserve more contracts in our businesses. Say more. We deserve more freedom in our lives. Say more. We deserve more votes on the ballot box. Say more. We deserve more opportunity for the people of Georgia. Say more. We deserve to win this election. If we show we will have more. Say more. And if we get it done, we will have more for now and more for the future. So together, one more time, let's say, let's get it done. Let's get more. Let's get it done. Thank you so much.